Chapter 26. Never Laugh at a Shoelace. "This is a shoelace," said Mac. Everybody laughed. Mac was sitting at the front of the room, holding his shoelace in his hand. He felt like a fool. "What a fool," said Allison. It all started a minute earlier when Miss Nogard asked, "Who has something to share for show and tell?" But first you should know something about Mac. Mac's favorite subject in the whole world was show and tell. He loved it, especially when he was the one doing the showing and telling. He often looked through garbage cans on his way to school in search of stuff to show and tell about. Once he found a really gushy love letter. It was covered with something that looked like peach slime, but that wasn't what made it gushy. The gushy part was what was written in the letter. Mac read it to the class with lots of feeling. So when Miss Nogard said, "Who has something to share for show and tell?" Mac reacted without thinking. His arm shot up like a rocket as he almost jumped out of his seat. "Oh, he groaned. But then he remembered something. "I didn't bring anything for show and tell." Miss Nogard heard him. Before he could lower his hand, she called on him. And that was how he ended up with his shoelace dangling from his hand like a dead worm. "It came from my running shoe," he said. He took off his running shoe and held it up too, next to his shoelace. "See, you stick the laces through the little holes here, then tie it in a bow. That keeps it from falling off your foot." "Duh," said Dana. "We know what a shoelace is," said Paul. "I've been tying my shoes since I was 2 years old," said Joe. Calvin and Bebe booed. "Sit down," said Jason. "You're boring." The kids in Mrs. Jewell's class never used to be so mean, but they'd been getting grumpier and grumpier ever since Miss Nogard took over. "Put your shoe back on," said Mauricia. "Your foot stinks." Mac felt terrible. Miss Nogard smiled. "Go on, Mac," she said. "We're all very interested to hear what you have to say." He tried to think of some way to make a shoelace interesting. Shoelaces are really important," he said. "There once was this guy. He was a really fast runner. His name was Howard Speed. He was the fastest runner in the world, but this was back before shoelaces were invented. And so, every time Howard raced, he ran right out of his shoes." Nobody seemed very impressed, but then Rondi asked, "Did he hurt his feet?" Mac shrugged. "I guess," he said. "I once stubbed my toe on a rock," said Stephen. "It hurt." "Yeah, and you didn't run as fast as Howard Speed," said Mac. "He ran so fast that if he kicked a rock, he would break his toe." "Did he have blisters?" asked Todd. Mac smiled. "Man, he had the biggest blisters you ever saw in your whole life. Bleeding blisters." "Ooh," Joe and John said together. "With pus oozing out?" said Mac. "Oh, gross," said Dana, wide-eyed. Everyone was paying close attention to Mac now. "Wherever Howard went," said Mac, "he left a trail of bloody footprints." "Cool," said Terence. "And so they had to invent something to keep Howard's running shoes on his feet," said Mac. "First they tried just nailing his shoes to his feet." "Yowza!" Bebe exclaimed. "Why didn't he just use Velcro?" asked Jason. "Howard lived in Africa," explained Mac. "Velcro trees only grow in Australia. So then they tried gluing his shoes to his feet, but that seemed to work. However, when he took his shoes off, like to take a bath or something, he'd peel off a layer of skin." "Yuck-ola!" shrieked Allison. But finally, Thomas Edison invented the shoelace, and Howard never ran out of his shoes again. "Did he win all his races after that?" asked John. "Well," said Mac, "the next race was for the championship of the whole world. Howard got off to a really fast start. It looked like he would win for sure. But shoelaces were still a new invention, and Howard wasn't quite used to them yet. Right before he reached the finish line, his shoelace came untied. He tripped over it and fell flat on his face. He broke his nose, lost all his teeth, and had 2 black eyes." "Wow," said all 3 Erics together. So remember, said Mac as he held his shoelace high in the air, never laugh at a shoelace. Everyone applauded.